Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's show. My name is Lory Quackenbush. I'm with APMG International out of New York, and I am delighted to be your host today. We have a tremendous show today. We're going to be discussing DTMethod. Now, this is part one of a part two series where we're going to be discussing design thinking and the secret sauce of successful ideation and solutions. So now listen, if you attend both of our events, because we have another one coming up on Friday, you stand a chance to win a great prize of a free DTMethod course through INTERPROM or a complimentary copy of the DTMethod book. So we will announce the winners this Friday after our part two event. So stick around for round two this Friday. We have Suchitra and Deeptha are over in the chat, so please let us know your name and the city where you are joining. And do get involved in the chat. Put your questions in the panel, and we'll try to answer them during our live show. So we have a really experienced panel today, so let's jump right in and meet them. First, we have Ian Clark. Ian has a focus and interest in human-centered solutions and service management. Ian operates globally and has over 25 years of experience working on multiple continents and industry sectors. He has recently completed a DTMethod-based engagement with one of the largest financial service companies on the African continent. Hi, Ian.
Hey, Lory. How you doing?
Good. So nice to have you today. Thanks for joining. We appreciate it.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm looking forward to it.
Absolutely. It's going to be a great show. Next, we have Mart Rovers. Now, Mart is the president of INTERPROM. He also works for Design Thinking Pros, which is a DTMethod and praxis coaching and training firm. He is a DTMethod passionado, and he is eager to help more organizations in North America to also start benefiting from it. So besides being very passionate for DTMethod, he's also a leadership coach and an accredited trainer in various areas of expertise. Hi, Mart.
Hey, Lory, great to be here. Can't wait for all these questions to come in.
Absolutely.
It's going to be an interesting show.
Mart's fantastic. We're so happy to have you. And then lastly, let me introduce Rafal Czarny. Rafal is the Director of Innovation and Development at Inprogress Design Lab. He's the lead author of DTMethod, which is a methodology that helps apply design thinking in organizations. He's a designer, trainer, facilitator, and a consultant. And as part of his professional activity, he supports organizations in implementing change using facilitation and design thinking. He has spent many hours helping design thinking teams find the best solutions, and he's created training games, development programs, motivational systems, and supported organizational change involving employee recruitment, increased engagement, and job satisfaction. How are you, Rafal? Thanks for joining us.
Hi, Lory. Thanks for being here. It will be a very nice show.
It's going to be a wonderful show. I say let's get right into the questions. Are you guys ready?
Let's bring it on.
Let's get into it. All right. Our very first question. What is design thinking? What is design thinking? Let's start with Ian. What do you think?
It's not thinking about design, but we'll get to that one later. It is in my own words, it's a very configurable, customizable, human-centered approach to identifying challenges and ideating solutions, whether it be problem solving or taking advantage of opportunities or innovating. So it's a very structured kind of approach to enable you to innovate and solve challenges and problems, basically.
Makes sense, right? As we think of design thinking, we're not sure what does it actually mean, right? Mart, what are your thoughts? What is design thinking actually?
To build on Ian's answer, indeed, it's an iterative problem-solving approach that is all about collaboration. And what I particularly like about it is that you put the user, front and center as far as what their needs and expectations are, and use that as your starting point, but also your verification points or moments through all the iterations that you go through to eventually end up with something that is innovative, that is inspiring, that'll set you apart from your competition, that makes you unique. It's quite exciting, actually.
I like that. I think that's the key, is something unique, setting you apart, right? Setting you apart from the competition. All right, let's get in. We have a ton of questions here, guys, so we're going to try to get to as many as we can today. Our next question is, what is DTMethod and what prompted you to build it? This one goes to you, Rafal, as the wizard of DTMethod.
As the wizard.
Wizard.
Thank you, Lory. Thank you, Lory. I've been designing since 2009, both in-house and for clients. Since around 2018, I started training in service design and design thinking. I developed myself in these subjects, also attending training courses myself, reading books and various other publications. Over the years, I have heard and read a lot about design thinking, conducting research, creativity, and this is where the first big problem emerged that needed to be tackled in a field of design thinking. The problem related to the fact that there were a lot of myths about creativity, about idea generation. As a psychologist, because I'm also a psychologist, I have a bit knowledge about these topics from my studies, so I found some fields to cover and to find answer why they do that. And
right.
People were used to think that generating ideas together loudly at a flip chart was hyper effective and led to a magical synergy that made it best way to generate ideas. And the truth is that it is one of the least effective methods of idea generation. Another problem was the cult of the tool, and I don't mean the rock band. I mean that there was one tool very popular, one particular tool very popular in design thinking, the persona. And again, there is a mass of voices saying that design thinking without persona is not a design thinking. But it's also not close to the true about the heart of design thinking, because design thinking is supposed to focus on people, and persona helps that. Helps this, but it doesn't mean that it is the only tool which is associated with focus on people. What more research shows that some teams designing solutions can do much better if they don't use personas. And we describe this in the report on design thinking that we published at DTMethod.com. You'll be able to download it, and you can read this report. It's free of charge. I could probably list many more reasons that our clients and trainees have reported to us. The problem of choosing the right tools, the problem of linking design thinking with other processes in the organization, the problem of the unpredictability, of the durability and cost of the design thinking process. And all of these issues led me to Michał Pacyna, CEO of Inprogress, who said to me during one of our conversations, Rafał, let's do a design thinking methodology. Just as there is Agile PM or Praxis for project management, let's make a methodology for design thinking. Let's help people apply design thinking effectively. Let's help companies use the process effectively. And that's how all of this began.
Well, I'm going to keep in the hot seat and you go right into my next question, which is what makes this unique with other methodologies? So obviously you created this beautiful creature, but what makes this, what is different compared to the other ones that are out there?
Well, the primary distinguishing feature of the DT method from other descriptions of design thinking is that it is really a methodology. And why do I say that? For a methodology to be a methodology, it should provide answers to at least 3 fundamental questions. First one is why it should be used. Second is what it is. And third is how to apply it. And various other approaches to design thinking do not give a detailed answer to this third question, how to apply it.
Right.
They talk about why and what should be done to conduct design thinking process, but there is very little guidance on how to do this. Each practitioner does it in their own way, and it is difficult for novices to start using the process because they don't know how. They know the stages, they know what to do, but there is lack of a very specific guidance. And we at the DTMethod have created DTRules, which frame the behavior and mindset of people, which helps to find the way, and DTRules, which means the responsibility, which should be covered during the design thinking process. This is the answer to the question how to apply design thinking in organization and how to use it, because it explains what exactly should each role do during the process. Fortunately, we are seeing this changing nowadays, but it wasn't trained or described before in the detailed way. We also propose DTTools as a collection of proven tools which help to conduct whole design thinking process. And feeds the structure. So this is the main difference between DTMethod and other descriptions of design thinking.
Yeah, that's really key, right? It's having the tools and the how to actually implement this, right? So I think that's paramount. That's the real key difference. So thank you for that. That's great. All right, let's get into some other questions here. Our next question is, what are the myths and perceptions surrounding design thinking, i.e. DT is not aimed at solely designers? Ian, you want to take this for us?
Yeah, absolutely. I think just adding on to what Rafal said, it's the real beauty of the DT method is its construct and the journey that it takes people down to come to a solution, whatever the context may be. I have a problem in the environment. We need to try and solve it. We've got an opportunity that we could potentially take advantage of. So I think the biggest myth is, it's in the name, design thinking. It's not as if you're architecting a solution in detail, like using TOGAF, or you're not designing a dashboard or a system. It's the journey to come to a potential solution that is highly likely to work, highly unique.
Right.
And I think that's the biggest myth. It's kind of, I've aired this a few times with the guys on the call actually about, if it was just named something different, like, ideation methodology or innovation, I think everybody would jump all over it. But yeah, I mean, that's the biggest myth for me. It's in the name, if that makes sense.
It does. It does make sense. Mart, what are your thoughts here?
Yeah, just a few to add on to that. Indeed, it's not just for designers, indeed, but also there's a perception that it's a linear process, which is not the case. It's iterative. That it guarantees innovation. No, there's no such thing as far as this guarantees. It helps, it fosters innovation for sure, but it's not a guarantee. Or it's just brainstorming, another fancy word for brainstorming. Right. No, it is. There's a methodology behind it, like Rafal said. There is a process. There is roles. There is tools. I mean, it's a lot more than that. And definitely, it's not a quick fix either. This is a creative process. It's not as in let's sit for an hour and we'll figure this out. Right. You go through some iterations. If you need to go after user stories. That may take a little bit. And then the other misperception is, it's a sticky note session, and it has a fancy name for that, and we call it design thinking. Yes, there will be sticky notes involved, but it's not the equivalent of a sticky note session.
Sticky note session.
Yeah.
Rafal, what are your thoughts on this? What are some of the myths?
I have three myths which pop in my mind. The first one is about creative sessions and generating ideas, because as I spoke before, and research and practice shows that the most effective formula for generating ideas is a structure in which people first generate ideas silently, individually, and after this they talk about generated ideas out loud. And we can do some things more to enhance this effectiveness of generating ideas session. But the first myth is that we should all out loud spend time in front of the flip chart and talk together about our ideas. It's not. It shouldn't work in that way. Another myth is the belief that designers will create better solutions if they work in a relaxed, fun atmosphere. It's very similar to what Mart said. This is not always true either, because research has shown that people generate more ideas when the atmosphere is consistent with their belief about the seriousness of the task. And if designers are working to solve a serious problem, introducing a playful atmosphere will work counter-creatively. So, yes. And third, I think it's the most dangerous myth, is the one about the playful atmosphere of design thinking. People say that design thinking is all about colored cards, drawing, cutting out, and playing like in nursery school. But any design thinking process is work that people do, and work that has a very specific goal.
Yeah.
It is to develop a solution to a challenge, to a problem, and solution that is tailored to users, feasible, and makes good business case. If we think of design thinking as a game, this is a serious threat to the effectiveness of the process because of the motivational aspects of people who use design thinking.
Wow, interesting. So it's not romper room. Note to self on that. All right, our next question is a great one. Thank you so much for your great answers, everybody. Our next question is, why have organizations invested so much in design thinking for many years, particularly some of the large, well-known organizations such as GE Healthcare, Microsoft, Google, Oral-B, Netflix, Airbnb, UberEats, just to name a couple small ones. Mart, we'll start with you.
Yeah, just a few small ones indeed.
Little
No,
small
it's
ones.
a big deal. It's part of their genes, actually. It's just how they continue to be successful, like the secret sauce we were talking about.
Secrets.
Why invest? If the big boys can do it, then it's as in it's something you should consider at the very least and start doing it. Actually, preferably, since it is a problem-solving framework, and any organization has more challenges or problems that they can handle. So which one do you work on?
Right.
Do you think you picked the right one? How do you know for sure you picked the right one? And if you start investing in a solution, how do you can spend your money and your time only once. So you want to make sure you do this right, and not just because somebody said so.
Right.
And that brings me to another thing. It's user-centric. I already mentioned that. It's collaborative. There's so much engagement from others that comes with it, where everybody feels engaged, as in I was part of that process, I was part of that solution. So it helps with people feeling empowered, feeling engaged. So there's a blog that we posted about why should you care, and you should care. It sets you apart from others with services, products that are future proof. Well, who doesn't want that?
Right. That's really good point. Really good point. Ian, what's your take on this?
Yeah, just building on to what Mart said, I think what these very successful companies have realized quite quickly is that if you take a business and split it up into kind of certain domains, plan the business, build the business, run the business, improve the business, design thinking straddles all four domains, and it is applicable across and in all four domains. And if you read the backstories to these companies, they started off, in one of those domains using design thinking in a particular context, and then realized the power of it in terms of improvement, problem solving, and it literally started to set them apart from their competition, so to speak, and it became a differentiator. And now it's part of their DNA. It's used
Right.
throughout all four domains, and it's just part of doing business, and they can't imagine it not being there. And that is the power of it, to be honest. And the fact that the likes of Rafal and Inprogress have really put a very sound methodology together that people can actually pick up, understand very easily, and use
Right.
across all four domains is the beauty of the DT method. So yeah, it's almost one of those where the minute I saw it and latched onto it, I thought, how can you not do this? So yeah, that's the power of it, in my opinion.
Like that. The DNA, you're really getting into it.
Yeah,
Rafael,
absolutely.
what's your thoughts?
I will support what Mart and Ian said, because according to the McKinsey report, which studied Fortune 500 companies, those organizations that use design-related practices achieve greater revenue growth than those who doesn't use design practices. And it is during the years, the gap between these companies are getting bigger and bigger. Forrester, on the other hand, analyzed the impact of introducing design thinking at IBM, and they found that by using design thinking in project management practices, products get to market faster, the products are more responsive to stakeholders' needs, are more likely to be used, and project management itself is cheaper due to fewer project changes, especially in the late stages of a project when these kind of changes are most expensive. So companies adopting design thinking are adopting design thinking because they know that in times of bloody competition, they need to stand out and better reach the end users and their needs. When there are 10, 15, or 50 suppliers of a product or service in the market, all provided at similar prices, you need to do something to attract customers. Right. And design thinking helps to identify exactly what stakeholders need you need to answer. And introducing design thinking allows you to stand out from the competition, offer more tailored solutions, and build brand loyalty in your customers.
Yeah, that's good stuff. Good stuff. The bloody competition. I like that. Ian, did you want to add something?
Yeah, just very quickly. It's there is a link I think we've got prepared to a Henley kind of report on some of these companies and what they used it for specifically. But if you take people like UberEats, I mean, they just throw up the driver's got an issue with trying to find houses quickly, which is delaying the delivery of food. Yeah, and then they follow the DT method or design thinking method, and the next thing, the app's got 2 additional functionality updates on the driver side, which enables products to be delivered a little bit quicker and a lot more reliably than they were yesterday. So if you think about improve and run the business, it fits in there. So I think it would be, there you go. So I think I just wanted to remind you to put the examples up there, because everybody on this call is looking to, what is the DT method, but why should we be using it? And there's some great examples there. And we're going to obviously talk about a few on Friday that we've all been involved in. One I got involved in very recently as well. So I think the more people really see the reality of a method like this and what it can do, the interest will gather momentum, and businesses will start to kind of look at this a little bit more seriously. So that was what I wanted to add, really.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, again, I can't. Absolutely, you guys are really. These are amazing answers. I did want to just take a quick moment and give a shout out to the people that have joined our chat, social. Go ahead and don't forget to enter your questions. And if we have time, we will get to your questions. And we have people from all over the world online right now. So again, thank you so much for everybody that's joining our call today. We really appreciate it. All right, let's get to our next question. Okay, the next question, we're gonna put you on the hot seat again, Ian, just because it's fun. The next question, what are the typical benefits of adopting DT method practices within an organization? Benefits, why?
Benefits, geez, where do I start? If you're looking to strategically plan, where you want to go with your business, you could use design thinking. You're looking to make incremental improvements in operations, you can use design thinking. If you're looking, I don't want to talk about, you could save money, you can, improve app functionality. It does not matter what industry you are in, whether it be IT related or not. If you have a challenge, you have a problem, following a method like this is going to lead you to potential solutions that are highly likely to work. Yeah. Just as an example, the one I used it in recently was a company it's called them cultural issues. Yeah. So they had various values in the company, and they did a survey and found that many of the staff didn't believe that these values were truly being lived within the company and wanted to know why. We used the DT method, unpacked it all, and I think we generated over 100 ideas that have all been prioritized that they could potentially implement to just shift that cultural behavioral attitude dial that they've been struggling with for a few years by the sounds of it. So I don't know. Yeah, the benefits are huge with regards to solutions to challenges and problems. Simple as that, really.
Yeah. Mart, what are your thoughts on this?
I'm so glad Ian mentioned that number of 100 plus ideas. It sounds like really it is, and that's kind of normal numbers that come from following DT method. It's amazing the creativity that that surfaces in these sessions, and again, a lot of that has to do with what I touched on earlier. With it is this collaborative effort where you per DT method, you define roles and you find people in the organization that can take on these roles and responsibilities, and it's not just to up to the happy few, or the people that have a C in front of their title. It's not just the people that are supposedly the creative thinkers or the creative brain powers. It's across the organization. It's cross-functional. And just imagine that level of engagement that comes with that. I mean, in North America, it's a big concern these days as far as employee retention. And again, if you see how people get engaged, are involved, and part of the solution, in essence, as in that was my contribution. I did this part, collectively, we came up with something that me individually would have never been able to come up with. But as a team, we pulled this off. It boosts morale, it boosts job satisfaction. I mean, those are just other advantages. There's, of course, besides the ones that Ian already mentioned and that Rafal already mentioned earlier. But these two I'd like to highlight, considering also the major concerns we have when it's about keeping our employees happy.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. Rafal, did you want to add to this?
Yes, I will, from a bit another perspective, because we conducted research on the effectiveness of the DT method with scientists from 2 universities here in Poland. And this research confirmed that using the DT method allows teams to develop solutions that are original, tailored to users, applicable, functional, useful for business, and of very high quality. And it shows that it's not only a teamwork, it's not only during the DT method and any processes similar to those, not only people are involved and happy, they are, but also the business gets what the business needs. The good answer to a challenge which is tackled during the design thinking process. Additionally, when we work with our clients, we get feedback on not only satisfaction with the results, but also on the collaboration within the team. So this is something which we share very similar experience.
Right. You get the feedback, so you know what works and what doesn't, right? All right, our next question. All right, this is how does the DT method relate to project management, architecture, agile, etc.? Ian, did you want to take this one?
Yeah, they actually complement each other very nicely and kind of integrate very nicely as well. And again, it obviously depends on the type of, if I take project management as an example, depending on the type of project management framework or methodology you use, I would argue that the output of design thinking potentially is a key input into the initiation of an agile project. You've got a prototype already with some key features that the guys have ideated from design thinking that is highly likely to work. And now an agile / Scrum kind of approach could take that and start to flesh out the actual detailed functionality and start to iteratively develop, test, and deploy, the solution. So they do kind of integrate quite nicely from that perspective. So I think from Mart's perspective with regards to the design thinking pros, I think you guys actually connect the two, if I'm not wrong, Mart, in terms of design thinking feeds very nicely into project management. Like I said, planning the business, architecture, you could come up with, we've got these 5 architectural issues that we need to solve in the business. Let's try design thinking to try and see if we can come up with some solutions. So like I said, plan, build, run, improve, architecture, strategy, projects, build, run, operations, improvement. It just slots in very nicely from that regard.
Yeah. Speaking of Mark, did you want to add to this, Mark?
Sure. Just emphasize, Ian really did a good job explaining that they all complement each other. That's the key word to remember from this question. So, for example, if you get a list of project requirements and you don't know exactly, which of these requirements is coming from which user and is maybe more important than another requirement, design thinking has already figured that out for you, so you can prioritize based on user needs. What to take on first or what should have a higher priority. Plus, like indeed Ian said, you can end up with solutions. I mean, it helps with the risks of spending time on something that can wait or you should not be spending time on. So it helps mitigating project risks when it comes to making sure that things have been tested. There's prototypes that worked. You just have to, quote, quote, just have to build them. The Agile, as already been mentioned a couple of times, DT method is an Agile approach. It goes hand in hand with your Agile project management approach. So that's as in just a natural progression. In other words, it fits, it complements each other.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you so much, Mark. Now, guys, we have so many live questions coming in. I don't know if we're going to get to all of them. Matter of fact, I know we won't. We're going to try to get to what we can. Okay, the next question, this is going to be for Rafal. Second here. Rafal, what are the main components that make up DT method? And we'll try to speed it up so we can get through some of these live questions. Rafal?
I will do my best. I will do my best, but I can speak a lot about DTMethod. So there are main components of DTMethod. It is DTModel, DTRules, DTRoles, and DTTools. These are what build the DTMethod and clearly help companies to implement design thinking in their processes. The DT model describes the process that the team has to go through. There are 3 phases: exploration phase, creative phase, construction phase, during which the solution is designed by the DT designers. DT rules are 7 principles that frame the work in the design thinking process. They are focused on people because design thinking is human-centered and we need to focus on people. Team involvement because designers must have time to get involved. Evidence-based approach to respond users' need, not stereotypes about the users. It is phase approach because all 3 phases must be done, but also it is iterative approach because sometimes you have to go back to the previous phase. Active approach because design thinking has to deliver results quickly, and learning approach because we learned a lot during the process about stakeholders, about customers, about users. And DT roles, it is description of key responsibilities to be taken through the whole design thinking process. We described a few of them. There is DT sponsor, who is defining the challenge and who is receiving the solution. DT facilitator, who is leading the entire design thinking process. DT designers, these are people who design the solution during the meetings. And DT coordinator, who gives administrative support. And without any of these roles, the design thinking process may not run properly, and ultimately it may not even deliver a solution. So there are risks if we don't care about these areas. We have also DT tools, but it's not for today's.
Right. Well, we'll get into that on Friday.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for that. That's really great. All right, we're going to try to get to some of these live questions. So our next question is, I'm going to put you on the spot again, Ian. Why attend certified training and obtaining certificate is so important? Why? Can somebody just get the book? Why get certified?
Oh, same reason as anything else, actually. I mean, you've got some, hopefully somebody who's fully accredited with authorized material, taking you through the approach. They have experience, they can give real life scenarios, it can get explained in a way that is meaningful and in a constructive way. And obviously the certification is almost a stamp or of approval that you understand the method at different levels. So the foundation level, I understand the basic construct, key concepts and how it all fits together. Professional, I can apply. I've learned how to apply it. Somebody's taken me through it. So it's really about, for me, it's not just the certification. It's being able to leave the event, how long it lasts, with the ability to potentially apply or easily converse and talk to people about it in a meaningful way, rather than reading a book and having your own interpretation of what things may mean, because like most things, they are open to interpretation.
Sure.
So yeah, that's for me the reason to get certified properly.
Interpretation. Mark, what are your thoughts on this as the president of INTERPROM?
I was on Indeed.com the other day, and I looked for job positions that require design thinking.
Yeah.
And it stopped counting basically after 30,000 plus jobs. It was as in you get the picture. It's almost, there's so many job openings that ask for this. With your certification, you can stand out. That's just one thing. And of course, the certification possibilities, it's not just the what and why do I need this, but it goes to the next level that Rafal was talking about earlier, the how to.
Right.
You know, it's one thing to understand it, but how do I make this happen? And that's
Right.
also part of a certification course, the professional level, as in, okay, it's one thing to have a certificate, but show me, right?
Right. Show me that you can apply it. Show me that you can use it.
Exactly.
Right. Absolutely. Wonderful stuff, guys. All right, we have a ton of live questions. I know we're not going to get to all of them, but we're going to try. So, gentlemen, get your hands ready, hands up, ready to answer these questions. We're going to try to get through as many as we can. All right, so the next question is, how is design thinking different from Scrum adoption, and what are the key differences? Who wants to answer? Don't be shy. All right, Rafal, what are your thoughts?
So the Scrum framework is focused on the development, while design thinking is about designing. We have two phases in product management area. There is a discovery phase and the delivery phase. Scrum is perfect for delivery, but people in the Scrum need to know what to deliver. And design thinking describes in a discovery phase what should be delivered in the delivery phase.
Okay. Great. Ian, you want to add to this quickly?
Yeah, I obviously agree with Rafal, but in terms of what design thinking does produce, which Scrum and Agile users will know, is it does come with here are some user stories. Here is a prototype of the solution with the user stories. So in the world of Agile PM, the APMG kind of ABC method, you're already starting off that very early kind of phase of what are the high level requirements. Here's a high level prototype of how it can look and what it should do and what it should not do. And then, as Rafal said, you take that and literally, right, let's apply Agile and Scrum to build this and get it deployed, iteratively in an agile kind of efficient way. So, like I said before, the two connect, but there is terminology, literally user stories used in design thinking that literally link straight into Agile and Scrum.
That. Good stuff. All right. Next question is a live one coming from Raymond. His question is, this is a good one. I've heard that design thinking doesn't foster collaboration. How does DTMethod overcome this issue? Who wants to take a stab at this? Mart?
Yeah, where did you find that story? Must have been one of those failure ones, as in, how not to do design thinking. And DTMethod is baked in with the roles, the responsibilities in DTRules, and then even the DTTools, right? It's not something that you do on your own in a back office, and I can do it on my own. No, it is a team. It's an effort. It's the collaboration is part of his genes. It's so built in. Yeah, I don't know where he got that, but yeah, it must have been a failure. Yeah.
Oh no, Ian, what do you think?
Yeah, I think it goes on to what Rafal mentioned earlier. It's like, because we're all clustered around a whiteboard and throwing sticky notes on everywhere, we're collaborating. Not the case. So there's a host of activities. There are 20 odd techniques and tools used. Nearly all of them, are done in a collaborative way. And what is important to me is in an inclusive way. So, like we said earlier, I mean, you have time alone to think about the ideas that you want to generate, and then you can come together in a group and present them. The roles that have been defined in the DT method encourage nothing but collaboration. And in fact, setting the team up at the beginning is about, encouraging collaborate. It's built into the method. It's as simple as that. I get why people would say that with previous methods, but and the way they've been applied. But this has got the how, and that includes a lot of collaboration, which is extremely important.
And that's the difference, right? Proof is in the pudding.
That's it.
Right?
That's it.
All right, next live question. Thanks, guys, for answers. I'm sorry to be blowing through this, but we're trying to get to as many live questions as possible. Next one is from Abigail. Abigail's question is, let's see, how important is it to have the right personas involved in the design thinking process? Rafal?
Well, it is important to have people who have knowledge about organization and the context of the organization, because it's also a myth that we can invite anyone from the street to work in design thinking and they will find proper solution. We need to have people who has knowledge about organization, their products, their services, but also they should have they should come from different part of organizations. They should see things from different perspectives. So one thing is that they have knowledge, but the second thing is that they are different. They see things from different perspectives.
Yeah. That makes sense completely. Ian, did you want to add to this?
I think, Mart, you got something to add. I'll be 2 seconds right at the end. Go for it, Mart.
Thank you. Yeah, I want to build on what Rafal said. It's you need to have the right people for sure, but think of, for example, people from product development or service development. Think of people that are into user experience or customer experience. People from marketing. People that are involved in strategy or maybe into the education part of the organization, learning and development, human resources, people from human resources. So you get the picture as far as people that have touch points with the paying customers, clients, people that know the organization.
Yeah, fantastic. Absolutely. Ian, did you want to quickly add to this and then we'll move on to that?
Very quickly.
Very
I think it's important to note that while we're talking on this, even in the DT method, Rafal and the guys have catered for an online method. Yeah, so this is how you carry out the method if you're doing it like virtually. And here's a way to carry out the method if you're doing it kind of face-to-face on site. So both methods have been kind of structured to encourage, obviously, collaboration and involving the right people. And there's a new facilitator course coming out very, very shortly. So that also encourages the person kind of facilitating the process, making sure we get the right sponsor and designers to encourage getting the right personas in place. So it's all in there. I mean, literally is.
It's all in there. Love it. Great answers, guys. I really appreciate it. All right, next live question, and we're trying to get through all these. Isabel, her question is, in my experience, one of the most interesting outcomes from DT is a possibility to coming up with solutions like product solutions, services, patterns, issues, et cetera, that were not visible before. What about yours? Let's take this. Mart?
Now we're all gone quiet.
Yeah, no,
it's crickets. Crickets. It's a good question. Thanks, Isabel.
The hay is rolling across the field. Okay, go for it, Mart.
That were not visible. That's what I'm homing in on. I mean, you can take this apart, this whole question, and go in many directions. But again, because of that collaborative effort, and you have all these people from the different parts of the organization involved, you just get more creativity going. The creative juices start flowing when you have all these people with different perspectives and different experience and different backgrounds involved. That in itself leads to things that you never thought of on your own.
Right.
So I'm building on that last part of the question, as far as what were not visible before. Yeah, because you may not have been exposed to that because that was outside of your scope or your visibility or your involvement.
Yeah. Rafal, did you want to add?
Only one thing, because during design thinking process in DT method, we have exploration phase during which designers conduct stakeholder research. They literally make interviews, questionnaires, observations, and sometimes during the exploration phase, the designers have very spectacular insights, which says that the challenge which was described before is not correct. We should address something else in our design thinking process. Of course, it has to be agreed with the DT sponsor during the process before they will follow the path addressing these needs. But it is quite often that if organizations have not communicated with their customers before, they will find some exciting insights during the stakeholder research.
Yeah, absolutely. Ian, did you want to add it quickly? I
Just
went
very
over.
quickly, yeah. I mean, it's built into the exploration phase, as Rafal said. But one thing I've certainly done practically is talk to people about Senjay systems thinking, to try and get people to think holistically and how things connect. Not to take a challenge at face value in terms of assuming it's this that would work or help. Think holistically, think about, I even used the McKinsey 7S model a few times. I threw that out there just to get people to think about various different aspects of a solution, just to get the creative juices flowing, rather than getting people pigeonholed into a particular mode of thinking. So yeah, I mean, I think it's, the how you apply it, and as you work your way through the method and start to think about things like VUCA, complex, the C in VUCA, the complexity,
Yeah.
you get the right people around the room and throw models like that around and get people to think broadly, then you will be amazed at some of the ideas that come out. It's, it really is kind of inspiring, actually,
Yeah.
from my perspective.
Yeah.
Inspiring. Love that. All right, our next question, and we're probably going to run over a little bit, but that's okay. Really appreciate all the questions coming in. Next one is from Murtaza. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly. Her question is, earlier there was use of the terms UX/CX, apologies, which were in line with design thinking discussions. What, why, or where these terms have not been stated or mentioned? Let's take this one. Yeah,
I could say, yeah.
go for it.
I didn't put my hand up. Sorry.
That's okay.
Yeah, I think if you take user experience, customer experience, it's in the nature of setting up the design thinking team right early on.
Yeah.
We talked about it earlier with personas, and a lot of people talk about UX and CX in the context of some front end interface of a system that people have to interact with. I mean, if that is part of the solution, then great, but it may not be. But you've got to get the right people involved and then get them involved in the research and coming up with ideas, as part of the approach. So, user experience and customer experience is built into the nature of the roles, as well as other angles or perspectives on the solution as well. So, yeah, that's sort of my view on that question. Good question, though.
Very good question. Very good question. Rafal, did you want to add to this, or we'll move on to the next one and try to get through?
Let's move to Mart, because Mart wanted to answer.
Go for it, Mart.
And I'm going to repeat what Rafal said, not to bore people, but there is this phase where you go into what is it the users want, their needs and expectations. There is user, experience and customer experience involved with, you do your research, you do your homework. You don't want to end up with something that nobody's waiting for. You want to end up with something that has been asked or that they're expecting, and you do that through interviews, assessments, surveys, you name it. But that's integrated, built into DTMethod, and with the appropriate tools to surface all this.
Yeah. Great answers, guys. Thank you. Really, really appreciate it. All right, our next one. Okay. Let me get in here. Is what is a good reference to read on DTMethod? This comes from Mutaz. You want to take this? Raphael knows. Raphael has a good question.
And Ian has.
Look at that.
Yes, we published a book which I wrote with collaboration with Agnieszka Chrząszcz and Michał Eromin, different surnames. Yes, and you see QR codes which you can use to find the book, Design Thinking Basics, and Introduction to the DT Method. Yeah, this is very good reference. Also, very good references on our website, dtmethod.com. where you can find a lot of information about design thinking and DT method.
Great. Thanks for that resource. Appreciate it. And again, don't forget, folks, you have the QR codes and so forth on the screen here. All right, I'm hoping we have time for one more live question. Okay, the next one is from Guy. And the question is, what is the difference between design thinking and systems thinking? A good one. Really good question. Who wants to tackle this one? Once again, the crickets. Really? Mart.
It's to find that button to click on. That's
Yeah.
yeah. So design thinking, as we've been talking about for the past hour, I think it's obvious. What's involved with the phases, and system thinking is more along the lines of we want to build a system, and yes, does the design thinking feed into that? It could be, but there's some parallels, but design thinking is its own thing with its own phases, and per DT method with its own how-to. System thinking is much broader, I would say.
Yeah, Ian?
Yeah, Sanjay's systems thinking. Two ways I'd see this being built in. It's part of research and solution ideation is applying systems thinking, definitely. So, they're complementary. So, like I mentioned earlier, I encouraged people to think in a systems thinking approach. Life is complex, work is complex. There are many moving parts in many solutions. So it's important to apply systems thinking within the DT method. And then the solution that kind of gets ideated, getting people to think holistically about different aspects of a solution, from a systems thinking point of view. So yeah, I mean, it's, I include it in and make sure people think about it in terms of the end product of design thinking. I hope that answers the question, Guy.
Yeah, I think so. Now, speaking of, we're going to kind of press on. We have so many questions. We might go over our time a little bit, but I think that's okay for those. We just have so many great questions coming in. We're going to try to get to a couple more here. Okay, our next question, and thanks again for the quick answers here. This is, okay, I work in continuous process improvement, dealing with various ideas and problems. Is there a certain threshold for when a problem is big enough to warrant using design thinking rather than just a sticky session? This is from Dawood. Who wants to answer this one? Rafal?
I'm going to answer. Yeah, I want to answer that one.
From my perspective, using design thinking will give you different answers on the problem than just a sticky session. Because when you brainstorm without getting knowledge from your stakeholders, from users, from customers, or whoever the problem is connected to, you will not make sure that the solution will answer their needs.
Right.
And we are talking mostly about risk management when we develop solutions, when we provide solutions. Project management, all project management methodologies are risk management tools. And similarly, design thinking is a risk management tool. If we want to have the best idea which will help to solve solution, the design thinking will fit better than just sticky session. One thing more, if the problem doesn't influence people or is not connected with human behavior, people's behavior, maybe just a sticky session is good in this kind of challenges.
Yeah, that makes sense. Ian, you want to add?
Yeah, I've got a bit of a left field one on this one. So if you take design thinking, the DT method in its entirety, I see where David's coming from. You could argue it's quite an involved process. So you don't want to apply it to everything because you don't have the time and the resources to do that. So my kind of take on it is the thing that I did with the client recently was I kind of took aspects of the DT method. I took like 5 or 6 tools and techniques, created a little kind of approach that we did over a day. And you could apply something like that to kind of everything almost. Here's an idea, here's a problem, take it through this half-day session.
Interesting.
And it reaches a particular threshold of, you know what, that's actually pretty cool. And we think it might add a lot of value. Let's now apply a bit more stringent DT method. Yeah. So it's kind of like a prioritization technique almost. But the thing I loved about the DT method is if you really sit down and look at the tools and the techniques and the method, you can customize it to say, well, let's apply these things to every idea or every challenge that we have to try and weed out the big ones that you want to apply it more stringently to.
Yeah.
But that's kind of my left field take on it. I
it.
like customizing frameworks and making them work for me or the client. So
absolutely. Again, guys, I can't thank enough. Great answers. Wonderful questions. Thank you for all the activity here. All right, we're going to get to, I think, 2 more. Okay, the next one is from Hisham. Question is, does DTMethod play a role, while performing the WBS of the project, or can DT enhance how WS is done on the project? Great question. Let's tackle this one. Go ahead, Mart.
Yeah, let's be clear. I mean, DT method is not a project management approach. If you want to build your work breakdown structure, follow the project methodology that you have. To make sure that the content of your work breakdown structure is what it's supposed to be to meet the needs and expectations of why you even started this project. That's what DT methods comes in.
Right.
So it's like a precursor for success almost of your work breakdown structure. But DT method will not dictate this is what your work breakdown structure should look like.
Yeah. Phenomenal. Great. Ian, did you want to add to this?
Yeah, just quickly on that, there's a specific technique in the DT method called build, break, repair. And in essence, that is a beginnings of a WBS from a project management point of view. So again, it kind of feeds in. If you do DT method really well, you'll come out with a prototype. Usually a build, break, repair has been done before, which gives you some idea of the aspects or breakdown of a particular solution that the guys are going to prototype. So if you do it properly, literally you'll feed it into project management, and then the WBS in project management will go, right, this is the detail we need to flesh out. If you're using Agile, that's where you get detailed user stories, et cetera, et cetera.
Right. Good stuff. All right, guys, I think we're going to get to our very last question just because I know we're over on time. So our last and final question is from Candace. What techniques does the course employ to help participants navigate ambiguity and uncertainty often encountered during these early stages of design? Great question. Great question. What techniques? Who wants to tackle this one? Rafal?
So we designed the structure and steps during the exploration phase to help designers deal with ambiguity. It is normal that ambiguity is in design thinking process because there is a lot of information and a lot of lacking information during the exploration phase. But the tools navigate through the process. Questionnaires, different interviews, user stories, the map of needs, matrix of needs. So these are different tools which help designers in finding correct answers, good answers during the whole process.
Great stuff. Ian, did you want to add quickly? Because I'm running into...
Yeah, just to add to that, I know Rafal's mentioned various techniques and tools that are used in the DT method. And I see Candice is asking, if we attend the course, how do we help the participants navigate that? So I would imagine, I know we do, but we provide a whole host of handouts and templates that the guys can actually take away from a course and potentially use. And obviously we explain them and how they will help you overcome things like ambiguity and carry out certain techniques to get into the right level of detail and doing research and so on. So yeah, even at a foundation level, I know we give out a whole bunch of templates that, help with that. So yeah, that's my take on it, but a very, very good question.
Yeah, great. Again, phenomenal question. I'm sorry we can't get to everything, and thanks for those who stuck around to add some additional questions here. All right, so we're going to wrap this up. Again, thank you for staying by. I wanted to first of all, thank all of our producers for all your excellent questions today. Great job. Well done to everyone. Panel, thank you so much for joining us and taking the time for this today. So I guess we'll get into some closing remarks, and I'll begin with Rafal.
Thank you very much for today's event. It was very nice chatting with you, Ian, Mart. Thank you very much, Lory, for being so wonderful host. And thank you very much, everyone who joined us and asked their questions. It was really, really, really great, even better answering your questions than prepared before answers. And I hope to see you on the event on Friday.
Thank you so much, Rafal. Ian, did you want to say anything? Wrap this up?
Yeah, look, I thoroughly enjoyed it as always. Mart and Rafal, who's obviously the creator of this wonderful method. So it's really cool that he's been able to join us and give his insights as well. So yeah, looking forward to Friday. So we turn theory and the method, into real life on Friday. So hoping everybody joins us for that session.
Okay. We're going to really get into the nitty gritty on Friday. And did I mention
Absolutely.
that if you join both, you get a chance for a free course, free books? We're giving them out. Mart, I want to let you wrap this up for us. What are your thoughts here?
I want to thank APMG for putting this together, and fellow panelists for fantastic answers to the fantastic audience. I mean, I truly enjoyed the live questions that came in. Great questions. Some food for thought from Albert Einstein to wrap this one up from my end, who once said, creativity is seeing what others see, and thinking is what no one else ever thought.
Wow, that's great. Never heard that. That's wonderful. All right, everybody, thanks for sticking around. What a great show. Thank you so much for all the audience and the live questions. Thanks again for our panelists. Now, just don't forget, over on our website, you can search for the answers to over 3,000 questions. It's a comprehensive free resource connecting you with over 200 experts from around the globe. And don't also, again, forget to listen to the audio versions of the shows on your preferred podcast. And don't forget to take a moment, comment, share, and subscribe. It doesn't cost anything. It really helps the people discover our content. So stay tuned this Wednesday at 10 BST. We have Women in IT, Become an Agile Expert. Friday is the part 2 of this event, the DT method in action with real world applications and success stories. So that's the part 2 of this today. And then on September 17th, we have the USM Revolution, Service Management, Architecture, and System. So again, all details are on apmginternational.com. Thank you so much, everybody, and we'll see you on the next show. Thanks again.